Hey, what's
What
up?
an unbelievable coincidence. As I was just playing Life is Strange 2 and happened to run into literally you.
I
Look at Twitter right now. I found you in a video game. It's
I know
crazy.
this. I know this character. The literally vouch that everything is political. I love it. It really does look
Yeah,
exactly like me.
he this game, and I asked my chat. I was like, when did this come out? When was this? Came out in 2017.
Yeah, they predicted
You
it.
got
It's like The
They
Simpsons.
created you. Well, it's more like it's like a tulpa. The game materialized you into existence.
Yeah, kind of like
So I thought it was
an inverse. What do they call it? Voodoo doll, a little bit. You know, you craft that, and reality molds itself around the concept. Um, so yeah, hopefully I'm not spiritually tied to it or anything. I feel like that could be a bit of an issue.
don't think the character dies, so I think you're good.
Ah,
I think you're
spoilers.
good there.
All right,
Um,
what's on your mind? Red pill
all
me.
right, so earlier today, I did a bit of a segment on the whole ChrisChan situation, what happened with her, and just catching some people up on the history of that. Because prior to yesterday, I knew next to nothing besides what ContraPoints talked about in her video,
Mm-hmm.
and frankly, I find it the overall culture and stalking and all of that shit behind ChrisChan to be deplorable.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, I went ahead and I watched the segment that you had uploaded to your second channel, and there were some things that I feel like I take issue with. And if I were to say this to you, you'd probably agree.
All right, hit me up.
So yeah. All right. So you and I do this as well, and I think this is the correct thing to do. Talk about how leftist figures online, or just generally progressive figures, need to talk more about really popular culture war things like that to bring people in, especially to sort of deprive the right of having a complete monopoly on discussing certain topics. And I think with this whole ChrisChan thing, we're getting a lot of new people who are getting into that, who are talking about it, who are watching videos about it. And every single video I've been watching on this topic that I did whenever I researched this prior to today's stream, they were misgendering her. They were talking about how she's this delusional, furry, autistic, mentally ill, horrible person. And I think it's very likely that in the coming weeks and most certainly months, we're going to see Blair White, Ben Shapiro, every right-wing or transphobic demagogue using this as the next crux of their transphobic arguments, just like Jessica Yaniv, but probably even more extreme. And I don't know if it's a good idea to throw that topic out entirely without perhaps taking one opportunity to throw in a left-wing perspective on this whole situation to get out ahead of the conservatives that are going to absolutely use this to radicalize normies against trans people.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that in concept, and I think ordinarily I'd agree with you off the bat. The problem that I have is that it seems like there's almost nothing for us to say, right? Every time I hear anything about like what is the lefty perspective on this? Like, oh yeah, they are a crazy delusional piece of shit, but respect their pronouns and like that's it. Like I don't know. Like I guess that's a valuable insight, but it kind of seems like if that's all we have to add, that we either don't have anything to add at all, or it comes off like a kind of backhanded defense, which is what it comes off to a lot of people online. When you're like, oh, hey, just because Jessica Yaniv is a terrible person doesn't mean you shouldn't respect her pronouns, blah, blah. People interpret that as a defense of Jessica Yaniv. Like they're not capable of understanding like acceptable lines to cross, which that's because a lot of them aren't. So like, what would we even say with ChrisChan? Like, yeah, she's really bad, but like not all trans people are that bad. I don't know. It just seems really asinine.
The problem that I had is when I watched your segment, it felt like up until a certain point, like it came off vaguely, like someone who was dishonest could try to twist it this way. Like you don't want to talk about it because you think it gives trans people a bad name, and almost as a tacit defense of ChrisChan. And I think the best thing to do in this scenario would probably just be to so what I did, I guess, is just an example, is I just talked about like the history behind it. I went into pretty good detail about how the stalking and harassing of this person has created like the extremely toxic majority right-wing culture of like Kiwi farms and all the stalking forums and everything. And I also talked about how a lot of conservative content creators are using this. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, conservatives use the lack of left-wing voices talking about how, yeah, Jessica Yaniv is bad, sort of ammo against the trans community.
I just want to say,
obviously this is completely illogical, but it is used nonetheless
I
by
just
the
want to
right.
say, with the Jessica Yaniv stuff, it felt like there was actually something to talk about, because a lot of what Jessica Yaniv did was a sort of weaponization of woke language to get away with sexually predatory behavior, you know? Like, literally the wax my balls or you're a bigot thing, like weaponizing the Canadian legal system, weaponizing sex positivity as an excuse to kind of like prey on children. In those instances, I felt like there was valid commentary from a left perspective, because you could go like, wow, these are completely terrible misinterpretations of everything we care about. Like, there felt like there was something to actually dig into here. But with like the ChrisChan thing, like, I looked at it for like 5 minutes the other day because some people got mad at me or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's just like another random crazy asshole, of which there are no doubt hundreds of thousands online, but this is the one that we're all concentrating on. You know, I don't know what to add to that. It just it almost, it feels like the best solution to this is just kind of disregard any engagement with it, because it seems like absolutely nothing good, personally or politically, can come from this hyperfixation on this one crazy asshole, you know?
Yeah, this is a pretty low stakes debate, but the problem that I have is that while Jessica Yaniv is a better example of somebody who is the like a trans person who is using woke language and rhetoric to try to harm people, which is, you know, a much more effective bit of ammo for the right to use against the left. I think the main problem is that ChrisChan is so culturally relevant right now. That shit trended on Twitter #1 all day. So many normies are now getting into it. Whenever I went to research ChrisChan, because I knew like nothing prior to last night. Whenever I went to research this, I looked at the most recent comments. Miles of new comments, like, who else is here because they found out about the whole fucking or raping her mom thing, and I was like, holy shit, there are so many people watching this stuff, and I could not find a single content creator covering this news that wasn't dead naming, misgendering, calling her delusional, which she is. However, the problem is that this contributes to the stone toss-esque transphobic straw man of trans people.
So you're saying
if there's
that even
anyone on this,
so you're saying
sorry,
that
you go.
even if we have literally nothing to add meaningfully to the discourse, it's still worthwhile to cover it because it drives clicks, and it means that people looking up this stuff will be brought to a lefty channel instead of a righty channel, which means that invariably their follow-up opinions are going to be, yeah, okay, I think that's a decent argument. Like, even if you can, like, even if you made 2 identical videos on ChrisChan, I would rather it be on like I'd rather like the one on Big Joel's channel get trending than the one on like some right-leaning channel, because that might encourage them to go and like look at other stuff from a lefty perspective or whatever. Yeah, I guess I can get that. I can't help but feel like a contemptuous disregard for people who take this seriously, though. I got a lot of dislikes on the video on my second channel, and a lot of these people are so defensive. The ChrisChan obsessed people, they act like they're like internet vigilantes, like they're like the Gohan fire warriors, where they like watch the mountain pass at all times to protect civilization against the orc horde. Like, it's so pretentious for like e-stalking, you know? So maybe maybe my hatred of those people is like, I don't know, overwhelming my common judgment on this. I don't know.
Well, the people you're talking about, and we're both very familiar with the communities that have stemmed from the whole internet stalking of this random individual online who, if I had the opportunity and I could snap my fingers and make it stop, I would undo the entire thing that's been going on for 15 years, because that culture, that community is absolute garbage and has plagued the internet long enough. But unfortunately, we can't really do that. You know, when you're a figure in the online space, especially a political figure, you kind of have to deal with the cards you're dealt. And unfortunately, we're now at a stage where I think for the next few months, there's going to be a very dominant right-wing narrative of pointing to this person who is the textbook stereotype of what people like Stone Toss like to depict trans people as. And I guess I've been seeing so many, everything from like normie YouTubers like Optimus, who are like vaguely edgy, right-leaning, to full-on like Nazi figures who are absolutely using this as ammo. And while I don't think there's much we can add other than like, yeah, just use the correct pronouns or whatever, I do think there's utility to gain from not ignoring it, not ceding all of that that drama, all those views, all that attention completely to the right.
Oh, yeah, I guess
That's
I don't
more or less all
disagree
of
with
it.
that. I still feel like the best take a person could possibly have on this is, why the fuck are any of us doing any of this? I still feel like that's probably the
Yeah.
most salient take, but I guess if nobody's going to listen to that, you could probably
No one
conclude on
will,
one way.
really. I mean, everybody, I think ContraPoints said
The
this
thing
best in
is,
her
like,
cringe video. Everyone's got this morbid curiosity for shit like this.
sure, I mean,
Can't really stop that.
yeah, I have morbid curiosity for stuff too, like Jerry Springer or whatever. Sometimes you just want to see, like,
Mhm.
living wrecks of human beings, you know? But the ChrisChan thing has gone way, way, way beyond that. They're,
Absolutely.
like, it's obsessive now. And I'd feel the same way about, like, if there was a Jerry Springer episode with some crazy person on it, and then people dedicated the next 15 years of their life to tracking everything they did off show as part of, like, this giant portfolio they're building on the life and times of this one random, like, holy shit. Like, you have to be really deep in the subculture to listen to this and not think it's fucking crazy. But I mean, as long as people are paying attention to it anyway, yeah, I don't know. I heard
You'd think. Well, sorry, you finished that, but yeah.
No, I just want to say I heard the thing that happened. Apparently, like, she, like, raped her dementia-addled 80-something mom or something like that, or some
Yeah, like
super
11
fucked up shit
times.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is she, like, going
Yeah.
to jail?
It seems that way. There's been a restraining order, and the mom's been taken to the hospital. That's all I really know so far. But there was another thing I wanted to bring up, was that we can also use this as the left, and this is what I mostly focused on in my video, as a way of just sort of bringing some attention to how shitty the people that have been doing this 15-year-long online stalking campaign are. One of the things I brought up, and this is the best example of this, is there was a individual who the story is that, like, this is like the younger brother of one of the trolls that have been stalking ChrisChan for a very long time. One of them was a 13-year-old boy whose name was like Blue Shard or some shit like that, who catfished ChrisChan,
Oh, I think
telling her that she was like a girl who was of age, and then convinced her, because ChrisChan's pretty easy to convince to do
don't they
things
have, like, the
apparently.
brain age of, like, a 10-year-old or something? Like, they're legitimately,
That's how
like,
it was
cognitively
described.
deficient.
And
Yeah.
the Kiwi Farms people dug up like medical reports, and yeah, that is how they've been described by doctors, and convinced them to break up this like clay and acrylic medallion that they made of Sonichu and shove it up their anus on
Okay.
camera.
Okay. So
Horrible shit like this that I think that's a really good thing that we as left-wing content creators can point out. Like, look how fucked up the people that have been doing this are. And I think it's a really good like thing to have out there to be bring that shit to
So the
light.
Kiwi farmers essentially groomed a child into being complicit in sexually harassing the Chris person.
That's the
Yeah,
thing they did. Yeah.
yeah, okay, right. I think I vaguely remember Contra mentioning something like that. I'm sure there's been a million things like this. I don't know. It's in all likelihood the combined, like, bad things done on all the ChrisChan stalkers probably exponentially outweigh all the bad things that Chris has done over the course. You know,
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. But they'll interpret that as a defense, though. Like, if you're like, hey, the stalking of Chris is really fucked up, then they'll be like, oh, so you just want her to get away with all the horrible things she's done? I see that in the comment section. They're like, they really do think they're like the wardens of this prison, you know? Like, they guard the gates. And that if they weren't there, like, I don't know, ChrisChan would become president or something. I don't know what they think is gonna
You'll
happen.
never get through to the psychopaths that are sitting on Kiwi farms all day and stalking this person. You'll never get through to those people. But I think if you tailor your rhetoric well enough and you're careful with how you say it, like for me, whenever I plan to do a particularly controversial segment, I think out what I plan to say it like the night beforehand while I'm in the shower or whatever. If you say it right, I think you can convince people who are just now stumbling across this. Because can you imagine how many people who saw ChrisChan did what in all caps trending on Twitter, #1 all day, that are now looking up videos on this? I would rather the first thing they see be like my video or your video talking about it, saying, hey, so this ChrisChan thing, maybe you're interested in it, maybe you want to watch a documentary on it, sure, maybe you're curious. Here's the thing though. Let's talk about the people who are responsible for this 15 years of stalker information. It may sound like anyone with who thinks with some logic or some sense would see this and think it's insane, but evidently not, based on how many normies are now discovering this, you know?
Yeah, I suppose. As a general rule, if something's big enough that it gets trending on Twitter, then it's probably big enough to warrant at least some, like, passing acknowledgement. But now, I still don't know, like, what there is to really say about this, because it feels like the crazies are going to interpret any nuance that isn't just, like, doggedly shitting on Chris with no thought or perspective whatsoever as being some kind of backhanded defense of her, but no, I guess I principally agree. Here's my new. Are you ready for my new take? That you've now forced me to have a take on this. Okay, are you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, here's my new take. ChrisChan seems pretty fucked up and should probably be in jail or like an institution or something. And that's probably always going to be my take on this. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. And as more information comes out, it's probably just, I'm just going to have to point at the sign, you know? And it's going to be that same take. But the stalking shit's pretty weird. We should probably, should probably not do that. I don't think it's helping. It's probably making it worse.
No, absolutely. I'd say like 80% of the bad shit that Chris has done or that has happened to Chris is probably due to the fact that there is an online stalking cult that is at least thousands strong, 24/7, constantly with like binoculars observing everything that this person does. And I think that's something that and these people have done awful things that I do think should be exposed. I know Demon Mama did a segment. I haven't seen it yet, but I imagine it was very good. But also like YouTuber to YouTuber, this shit is fucking trending, dude. Like,
I know.
You know, like, come on, yeah, like it's definitely worth talking about for that alone. But also, like, from a completely principled perspective, just generally having more left-leaning voices talking about this massive thing is worth it. And I'm not saying that you should do it necessarily, because clearly it's not something that you want to do. But when I saw your take that you did put out, like I clicked on it like, okay, cool, I'm gonna hear Vosh's take on it. And then you said you didn't care, and it was like, damn, I feel like I got cock teased, you know?
Yeah, look, my hope is just that somebody, some prominent conservative figure challenges me to a debate on this. They want to debate me on ChrisChan, you know? And I'll be like, okay. And then they'll show up and they'll be like, I think ChrisChan's bad. And I'll be like, yeah.
Me too.
And I'll get 10,000 views per second on that video. It's going to be really good, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Let's just hope that whole saga is over, frankly. I hope this is the end of all of it. I know it won't be, but it would be nice
hopefully
if it
she
was.
goes to jail. I mean, if she's something super bad, then like hopefully she goes to jail or at least gets like institutionalized in some way or another, right?
Yeah,
and that'd be the end of it, I hope.
There would be people having themselves institutionalized to be in there with her and then watching her so they could go like get out and then go back to the internet to report what happened. Like the people that are on this shit are obsessed beyond any recognition.
Yeah, they're going to be like chiseling holes in the walls of the prison to sneak in like Kraft mac and cheese singles to the prisoners so that they'll deliver info. They'll write on toilet paper and slip it out or something. It's going to be a whole prison break scenario just to keep updates on which nostril ChrisChan is breathing out of at any given point in time.
Yeah, it truly is deranged. It really is. But yeah, it's more or less all I wanted to say. I think that there's more to it than just it's not something we should be talking about, because that was sort of the impression I got from the video. But I guess, yeah, that's everything.
You're probably right. I get the argument. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. I'm sorry for coming on with such an awkward topic, too. It isn't exactly fun to talk about.
Oh, it's fine.
By any means, it's very depressing.
How often do I talk about things that aren't depressing, right? I mean, I don't know.
Pretty often, but it's, well, it's usually gross and uplifting to some degree, but this is just depressing and gross. Not quite in that vein.
Don't worry, the next segment will be too, so we'll be keeping in line. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And,
well, thank you for having me on.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the host on my birthday, by the way. I did a very long Rust stream. Yeah. You should play Rust sometime. It'll make you very mad.
Yeah, I might. We'll have to see. Take care now.
Alrighty. Have a good one, okay?
Bye.
Later.
Don't tell Xan I'm not playing Rust. I was so eager to inform all of you that I ended the call with Xan super quickly.